Let's begin with a personal story. Shortly after my 5th birthday, my father discovered that I wasn't his biological child. Consequently, he swiftly distanced himself from me and my mother. Reflecting on it now, I understand his decision. Raising a constant reminder of your spouse's infidelity would indeed be daunting. Following this revelation, we transitioned from a lavish mansion to a humble apartment, marking the onset of a lonely and tumultuous period in my life. The affection my mother once showered upon me vanished overnight. Instead, she and my half-siblings incessantly blamed me for the dissolution of their family. Enduring their hurtful words, I found solace in the understanding that they were just children themselves. Nevertheless, the emotional wounds persisted. At age 10, my mother remarried, introducing me to a stepfather and step-siblings who harbored disdain towards me. This hostile environment exacerbated as I was relegated to the smallest room, deprived of new belongings, and subjected to neglect and mistreatment. While my step and half-siblings enjoyed lavish trips and the latest gadgets, I languished in the shadows. Notably, birthdays passed by unnoticed since I turned 8. Socially ostracized at school, I became the silent, overlooked figure on the periphery of every gathering. Now, at 27, I've overcome these adversities. Securing a scholarship to college paved the way for financial stability. I've forged genuine connections, finding solace in a supportive friend circle and a loving fiancé who welcomed me into her family wholeheartedly. Encouraged by my fiancé, I embarked on a journey of self-healing through therapy, a decision I'm immensely grateful for. Today, I've transcended the scars of my past. However, recent events have stirred old memories. My mother, in a moment of desperation, reached out for financial assistance. I declined my mother's request for financial assistance, stating that while I understand her predicament, it's not my responsibility, and I asked her to refrain from contacting me again. Subsequently, I've been inundated with pleas from both my step-family and half-siblings, insisting that I shouldn't refuse. However, I reiterated my stance and blocked them as well. Recently, my mother called me from a friend's phone demanding payment, to which I responded firmly, reminding her of the choices she made and promptly ending the call. Despite blocking their numbers, I continue to receive messages, some of which are derogatory. Occasionally, I feel a pang of guilt. While I acknowledge the gravity of my mother's actions, I believe that no one deserves such harsh consequences. Regarding the question of whether I'm in the wrong for refusing to pay my mother's hospital bills, I firmly assert that I'm not. We're not obligated to support those who've mistreated us. Moreover, it's evident that their sudden interest in reconnecting coincides with their need for financial assistance. I choose to focus on the positive life I've built for myself and distance myself from toxic influences. Reflecting on the situation, I find solace in the notion that mistreating one's children can have consequences. As for any potential reconciliation with my mother's former husband, her betrayal notwithstanding, I believe expressing gratitude for his positive influence could be cathartic. While uncertain of the outcome, it's worth considering. Furthermore, I question why the burden of financial support falls solely on me when there are other family members who could contribute. This disparity underscores the unfairness of the situation and reinforces my resolve to maintain my boundaries. The original poster should not bear the burden alone. They must maintain their resilience and distance themselves from these negative influences. Not the whole. You didn't choose to be brought into this world. Yet your mother believes her minimal efforts entitle her to your hard-earned success. This only underscores the toxicity of her and your family's behavior. I commend you for not allowing your upbringing to hinder your growth into a healthy, accomplished individual. It's regrettable that you had to endure such circumstances, but your response was commendable. Keep blocking anyone who approaches you for money. Your mother's well-being isn't solely your responsibility. Your step and half-siblings should step up. Blocking her is a wise move, considering her sudden plea for cash. If she persists, suggest looking into healthcare options like Obamacare under Biden's relief plan. Moreover, request to see the hospital bill before considering any financial assistance. Cancer treatment costs are exorbitant, and real insurance is the only feasible solution. Above all, don't sign anything without fully understanding the implications. Beware of deceptive tactics to shift financial responsibility onto you. In another story, I've been married for over 6 years, with a 17-year-old stepson and a 22-year-old biological son. Like any typical family, my son is preparing for his wedding in February. I've set aside some money as a gift for him, which he and his fiancée greatly appreciate. He truly deserves it, considering how he took care of his mother before her passing, spending countless nights at the hospital by her side. Witnessing his journey from grief to finding happiness again fills me with immense joy. On the other hand, my stepson has a passion for motorcycles. What began as a hobby has evolved into a deep-seated interest, evident in his collection of posters, pictures, and involvement with a group of fellow enthusiasts. His artistic talents in 3D arts and logos further attest to his dedication. However, tensions arose during Christmas when my wife surprised my stepson with a brand new motorcycle, funded by withdrawing $8,000 from our account. This decision infuriated me, as that money was intended for my son's wedding. I confronted my wife about her actions, feeling betrayed by her disregard for our prior agreement. Despite her attempts to pacify me, I couldn't shake off the sense of betrayal. Moreover, I couldn't bring myself to reveal the truth to my stepson, who innocently accepted the extravagant gift. This situation weighs heavily on my conscience, especially considering the financial strain caused by previous motorcycle-related incidents. In a heated exchange, I gave my wife an ultimatum: return the motorcycle within 2 days. The dilemma between confronting my wife's actions and shielding my stepson from disappointment leaves me grappling with conflicting emotions. The tension escalated when I demanded the return of the motorcycle to reclaim the money. My wife adamantly refused, citing potential devastation for my stepson and warning of potential resentment towards me. Unmoved, I asserted my willingness to speak with him and clarify the situation, prompting her to accuse me of callously crushing his spirit. However, I held her accountable for unilaterally accessing funds without my consent. Following a tearful retreat upstairs, communication between us halted. I haven't broached the subject with my son yet, feeling drained by my wife's accusations of cruelty towards my stepson. It's confounding that she believes returning the motorcycle would result in his resentment towards me. Indeed, her actions raise serious concerns. Firstly, she disregarded our prior discussions about financial matters. Secondly, she diverted funds intended for my son's wedding to indulge her own child's hobby, blatantly prioritizing her biological offspring over mine. This blatant disregard for boundaries and priorities is deeply troubling. Financial betrayal can be as detrimental to a relationship as any other form of betrayal. It prompts me to question my wife's motives and whether she deliberately sought to undermine my involvement in my son's wedding. Moreover, the fact that she expected me to accept her actions without question is concerning. In truth, if someone gifted me an expensive item funded by someone else's money, I'd be outraged at the theft. Resentment would not be directed at the giver but rather at the breach of trust and disrespect towards the rightful owner of the funds. Take a moment to consider this. If your stepson had any sense of decency, he wouldn't resent you. Don't hesitate to insist that your wife reimburses the full amount. Realistically, you may not recover the entire sum from selling the motorcycle. You're not in the wrong here. It's crucial to separate your finances immediately to prevent future occurrences. Your wife's actions reveal her lack of loyalty and disregard for your son's well-being. This is a principle worth standing firm on. She must return the money, or face the consequences. Seek legal counsel and consider divorce if necessary. Don't let her guilt trip you. Explain the situation to your stepson before she distorts the truth. He needs to understand the gravity of his mother's actions. Offer to contribute to a new bike, but insist on shared responsibility to instill a sense of ownership and responsibility. Now, onto another matter. My husband's weakness is food. He's not into gaming or YouTube, he just loves to eat. While I don't judge him for it, his appetite often leads to larger meal portions and frequent cooking sessions. He's fit and hits the gym regularly, but he tends to finish our daughter's leftovers, leaving them hungry. We're always short on snacks, and I often find myself cooking twice a day to keep up with his voracious appetite. At 4 p.m., I went out with my friends to get new haircuts, having already prepared dinner and left it in the fridge for later. I informed my husband that his portion was set aside for when he returned from the gym. However, upon returning at 8 p.m., I discovered that he had already eaten our dinner and claimed he felt hungry. Feeling frustrated, I attempted to find alternative food options, only to be met with excuses about running out of other foods. I confronted him for selfishly consuming the girls' dinner, to which he defended himself, citing his perpetual hunger. In response, I ordered food from a restaurant for myself and the girls, excluding him since he had already eaten twice. He expressed disappointment, accusing me of intentionally excluding him and alienating him from family meals. I rebuked his selfish behavior and explained that the dinner was meant for me and the girls, considering he had already eaten the meal I had painstakingly prepared earlier. While he admitted his mistake, he seemed unapologetic, justifying his actions due to his love for food. Despite our disagreement, I recognized that his behavior stems from his passion for eating, rather than malice. However, his inability to acknowledge the impact of his actions on others remains a point of contention between us. Excluding him from our meal resulted in him not speaking to me since then. He's been teasing the girls about not sharing his snacks with them anymore, citing their acceptance of my decision to exclude him. Am I in the wrong here? Normally, I wouldn't consider divorce, especially with kids involved, but it's not just about the food. It's about the selfishness and hostility he displayed afterward. After consuming everything in the house, he should have at least ordered food for the family. Instead, he left me and the girls to fend for ourselves and even had the audacity to claim it was worth it. This behavior should serve as a wake-up call for most people to acknowledge a serious eating problem. Yet, he seems unwilling to seek help, preferring to maintain his harmful habits. It's ultimatum time. Either he seeks professional help or I leave. His refusal to address the issue makes him the one at fault. My father exhibited similar behavior, which turned out to be bulimia. He constantly snacked, stole food, and couldn't understand our frustration. Despite his fit appearance, he struggled with bulimia for decades. Your husband's refusal to seek medical help suggests he might be hiding something too. In conclusion, his actions are unacceptable. No responsible adult should prioritize their own indulgence over their family's well-being. If he was still hungry, he could have gone out to eat or at least informed you so you could make alternate arrangements instead of returning home to find everything gone. Such excessive eating is concerning. Nobody needs that much food unless serving minuscule portions. He clearly needs help. This situation reminds me of my younger brother, who exhibits similar behavior on a smaller scale. He often feels compelled to consume more than everyone else in the household, not necessarily out of hunger but a sense of entitlement. He's been caught hoarding snacks, devouring others' meals, and even drinking an excessive amount of soda within days, leaving none for others. I can relate to having to hide food items to prevent them from being consumed indiscriminately. Once, I had to safeguard my post-surgery nutrient shakes and chemotherapy supplies from my brother's insatiable appetite for snacks. It's alarming when someone's eating habits become disruptive and selfish, affecting not just their health but also their relationships with others. Such behavior warrants serious intervention and support.